Part 67. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shiyubuletin Chigwa. Chapter 664. Looking at the scarlet panel. Shenjian raised his eyebrows slightly. It seems that the Valley of the Buried Gods is about to arrive, otherwise the horror game would not suddenly activate hidden plot missions. According to Qi Shan, the biggest difference between Entertainment City's movie dungeons and thriller game dungeons is that the former not only needs to survive to the end, but also must participate in the final climax of the movie in order to receive settlement rewards. Under normal circumstances, the climax of the 5-star movie copy here is the final battle between the Celestial Temple and the Yinseo. Because of this, players will try their best to join the Celestial Temple. But now, the plot is messed up. First, the master of Yinseo Palace was promoted to a ghost and god, and then he killed the master of Yinseo Palace and took control of Yinseo. The result of this is that the final battle of the movie is ended prematurely. To this end, eventually the plot changed to the Valley of the Buried Gods. According to the prompts of the horror game, the ghosts and gods in the God Burial Valley should not have fully recovered, otherwise the mission would still be to prevent the ghosts and gods from being born. Shenjian clicked his tongue. What kind of rubbish ghosts and gods are you? Why are you so incompetent? He has left the protagonist for several days and has not been able to revive on his own, which is so low. It still depends on him. Thoughts are spinning. The chat interface also exploded. All the players were like cats with explosive fur, terrified. What's going on? All the secrets are gone, how can a thriller game trick us? It's so shameless, are we not going to stop until we die? I cried to death. In order to prevent us from passing the level easily, they created ghosts and gods. Jaime, who knows? Horror games are so kind. Don't be so crazy. Think of a solution quickly. It's a real ghost and god. If we don't stop him, Wutong City will be destroyed. How can we be better off? The players were horrified. They all came up with ideas. At the same time, their eyes couldn't help but look at an ID. King of Yama. This is the real boss. He single-handedly overthrew the largest villain organization in 5-star movie copies, and his strength was terrifying and inhuman. It makes them doubt their life. If it's Shenjian, they are not without hope. No matter how powerful the legendary ghosts and gods are, they cannot break into the Yinseo headquarters single-handedly and kill everyone in and out. However, Shenjian did it. This shows that Shenjian at least has the strength of a ghost. Suppressing a ghost that has not yet fully recovered is not a problem at all. At this time, Wang Lan spoke. Sister Lan, don't panic, read the mission prompts. Although this place is dangerous, it is not without a way to survive, and there are a lot of resources hidden in it. There are even ways to advance to the level of ghosts and gods. If you can get 1 or 2 by luck, you will be ahead of others of the same level. A lot of players. Sister Lan, although I didn't see any information related to the Valley of the Buried Gods in the Tianshan Temple's information, everything that appears in the copy of the movie is traceable and is the protagonist's chance after entering the Valley of the Buried Gods. We are completely. You can move forward by following other forces, which is allowed by the rules of the thriller game. Mr. Chi, well said. I have a question now. Where is the God Burial Valley? There are no specific clues even in the information about the Temple of Heaven. It is conceivable that this mysterious place must have appeared for the first time. Where should we find it? Sister Lan. The players looked at each other. Yes. They have never heard of the Valley of the Buried Gods. Where should they go to find it? You can't go through Wutong City all over again. Shenjian looked at the chat interface. Think for a moment. Take out your phone and click on the Supernatural Game app. Master of Yinko Palace at Second Judge, how is the block Supernatural Land in Baikan District? Before 3 seconds, the news came. Second Judge, the situation is very bad according to our judgment. The supernatural fluctuations here are becoming more and more frequent. It has probably reached a critical point. I am afraid that it is only a day or two away from happening. Master of Yin Cao Hall, great. Second judge. See this line of text. The second judge Sufa's mouth twitched slightly. A terrifying ghost has resurrected and is trying to come to Wutong City. How happy are you? He suddenly felt that this new palace master was really good at eating oil cakes. The other side. Shen Jian withdrew his gaze. Since this ghost and God can't help, he can only help the other person recover as quickly as possible. And as the God Burial Valley was about to be born, the last dragon energy with a 30% share also showed a weak reaction. Shen Jian pondered. The world-weary ghosts and gods divided a complete dragon energy into 5 parts. 40% of it was injected into the dragon-patterned ring in the hands of the protagonist Lin Yan, and the remaining 60% was dispersed in proportions of 5%, 10%, 15%, and 30%. He collected 2 and owned 15% of the shares. The protagonist Lin Yan also collected 1 on the way to the DC area and owned 55% of the shares. The remaining 30% was located in the God Burial Valley. Shen Jian was very concerned about this. After all, this was related to the authority of the first Luo Feng Tianzhou Juyin Tian Palace. After collecting the current one, he would have 6 dragon energies in his hands. Coupled with the promise made to him by the glorious ghosts and gods, and the one in Emperor Qing's hands, all he needed was the last burst of dragon energy to completely recover the first Luo Feng Tian. Its importance is beyond words. The reason why he didn't take it from the protagonist was just because he didn't want the copy to collapse, and before the dragon energy was completely recovered, the thing he took from the protagonist was also incomplete, so there was no need to destroy the filial piety between father and son. Time flies. The next day, Shen Jian opened his eyes. A line of scarlet words appeared in front of him. God Burial Valley has been born, and the hidden plot mission is officially in effect. Story mission: prevent ghosts and gods from being born. Task tips: all players need to participate in this task. If the player reaches the destruction ending, the player's task will fail. If the player reaches the happy ending, the copy will be rewarded based on the task participation. Note: there is a time limit for the opening of God Burial Valley. Please arrive at the specified time. Note: those who do not enter the God Burial Valley will be deemed to have failed the mission. Countdown: 3 hours. Wish players good luck. As the scarlet panel flashed by, all the players were excited again. Where is the God Burial Valley? Give me a hint. Nima, 3 hours is too short. It's basically enough for 2 journeys. It takes 2 trials and errors. It's basically cool. Everyone, please pay attention to the weird things about you. There is a ghost and god buried in this burial place. It is definitely not a simple supernatural place. It should be easy to identify. Sister Lan, no need to guess, the recognition is indeed very high in Baikan district. According to the information from Tianshan Temple, half an hour ago, a valley-type supernatural place came to Baikan district, causing a huge sensation. This should be a thriller, the Valley of the Gods that the game calls. See this. Many players dare not be careless. They all chose to rush to Baikan district as quickly as possible. On the one hand, the threat of the mission countdown is on the one hand, but on the other hand, they also want to arrive as soon as possible so that they can prepare early, join up with other players, and help each other. Certainly. There is another tacit reason. That is to wait for Shen Jian to arrive and then hug his thigh. Whether it is the supernatural incident in Nanjing district where Wang Lan is located, or the incident at Scarlet University in Baikan district where Qi Shan is located, or the incident at the Yin Cao headquarters in DC district where Zhou Fan is located, the reason why these people can survive the supernatural incident is not because of how powerful they are. but followed by a person. That is Shenjian. With Shenjian here, they only need to calm down and call 666 to survive without any injuries. Who is willing to give up such a big golden thigh? They all want to lick their pussy faces and beg to be taken. To this, Shenjian didn't know and had no interest in knowing. At this time, he encountered a new problem. My dear husband, are you free? Would you like to go somewhere with me? Ghost Professor Suro stood in front of Shenjian's room door and asked in a strange tone. Where to go? No, it's Baikan district, a rumored supernatural place. With my young wife's strength, it should be more than enough to accompany me to find some supernatural objects that can increase the level of terror. Hear this. Shenjian was slightly startled. Not a coincidence. He was getting ready to go. But at this moment, the beautiful woman came out of the kitchen, frowned and looked at her sister, her eyes a little wary, and said, Suro, what do you want to do? Her tone was a bit harsh. If Suro hadn't provoked her before, she would have been very happy to let Shenjian help her only sister, but now, she only had to be on guard. Because she was not sure whether Suro's words were true or false. She couldn't guarantee that something wouldn't happen if Shenjian was left alone with her eccentric sister. Sister, didn't I tell you to ask my husband to protect me? There must be good things in this supernatural place that suddenly comes. I want to increase the level of terror, but I am worried that the Ghost King level is not strong enough, so I want to, young lady, please help me. Ghost Professor Suro gave the reason. The excuse is impeccable. Sister, what are you worried about? Do you think my husband is not strong enough to protect me? She blinked. A hint of cunning flashed across his intellectual face. Suji. Her frown deepened. I really couldn't tell what my sister was thinking. Are you really interested in Xiao Shen, or are you just saying these words to stimulate her? Uncle, auntie, otherwise I'd better go with you. I also deeply realize that my strength is insufficient, and I also want to increase the level of terror. At this time, the school belle pursed her lips and said, there is some movement in the eyes. Hear the words. The beautiful woman was startled, and then her eyes lit up. Yes. Let his future daughter-in-law go with him, so that he won't have to worry about his little sister making any little moves. It can also serve as a warning. Perfect. This daughter-in-law is her monitor. Help her spy on the little butterflies trying to seduce her lover. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shiyu Buletin Chigua. Chapter 665. Baikan District. A ghost car stopped. 3 figures came out. Ghost Professor Suro wears the same old OL clothes that have not changed for thousands of years without a jacket. Her mouth-watering richness is wrapped against the white background. Her round and straight long legs are paired with flesh-colored stockings, which makes people unable to help but feel a certain kind of emotion. Dirty thoughts? The school beauty wears the same white shirt with a white pleated skirt, high ponytail, straight back, slender waist, and small round buttocks. She looks youthful and active. She is exactly like Bai Yueguang in her student days, and is the model of countless regret in people's hearts. Shenjian also walked down. Black hair, black eyes, angular features, and an appearance that makes it hard for anyone to find fault with him. Even the most famous doctor and physiognomist would have to say with emotion, this guy's face is so natural that he looks like a god. It's just the bloody hemp ropes standing up everywhere on the wrists, which adds a little bit of incongruity to this perfection. It gave Kamoto a hint of turbidity that tainted his popularity. Saw 3 people. Everyone around stopped. My teeth are itching with envy. His grandma, doesn't this person understand what the situation is in Baikan district now? To dare to parade through the city with 2 such stunning beauties is either a fool or someone who has sufficient confidence in himself. Is this the supernatural place? The school beauty ghost opened her almond-shaped eyes, full of curiosity. As the daughter of the richest man in Wutong City, she has been well protected throughout her life and has never experienced any big storms. The murderous incident at Scarlet University was the first time in her life that she saw the terror of evil spirits. This second time, she was naturally trapped in the Yin Cao headquarters. That time, she experienced what despair and powerlessness meant. Logically speaking, experiencing two such changes in succession would make her cautious, but in fact, she was not. She still chose to follow. Because she knew that with Shenjian, the ghost-level future father-in-law, she would be fine. It seems that it has been open for a while, but judging from the reactions of people around, the situation inside is very complicated and extremely dangerous. Not even one person has come back. Ghost Professor Suro observed the crowd around her and drew some conclusions from the micro-expressions on these people's faces. Hear the words. Shenjian looked around. I saw a mountain range so huge that it could not be seen at a glance, pressing down on a corner of the city, spreading for thousands of miles, and the black forest stretched continuously, looking eerie and penetrating. Shenjian knew that this was the God Burial Valley. According to the protagonist Lin Yan, a sleeping ghost and god is buried in this supernatural place, and the protagonist's master is responsible for guarding it. However, due to the feeding of the master of Yinko Hall at all costs, the ghost and god buried here began to gradually revive. Once he wakes up, the entire Wutong city will be destroyed. At the same time, this is also the final chapter of the 5-star movie copy here. Only when players participate in the climax of the movie can they truly participate in the plot and receive settlement rewards. To this end, not only the ghosts in Wutong City, but all players also participated. So lively. At this time, a surprised voice sounded. Brother Shen, you are finally here. Wang Lan, dressed as an elite female executive, walked towards her. He happened to meet Ghost Professor Suro's intellectual face that was obviously half smiling, but full of pressure. Then, the opponent withdrew his gaze, with a no threat, alertness lifted look. There is also the school belle on the other side who has such eyes. She clearly saw this campus goddess level campus beauty scanning her up and down, as if calculating her appearance. Finally, he also withdrew his gaze. He looked like he was an ordinary passerby. Wang Lan. Her expression froze slightly. Good guy. What did she see? Isn't this school beauty the fiancée of the protagonist? Why does it appear here? There is also the intellectual lady who pretends to be an old girl, whom she also knows. She is a popular female professor at Scarlet University. According to her information in the Temple of Heaven, this aunt should be the protagonist. But now, why are you following Shenjian? What's going on with this horse riding? And what the hell is your attitude of guarding against mistress seduction? A series of doubts emerged in Wang Yian's mind. Make her facial muscles twitch slightly. I really can't guess what Shenjian's identity is at the beginning, and he is so close to the family of the protagonist group. She felt a little aggrieved for Shenjian. It was the first time for Shenjian to participate in the movie dungeon in Entertainment City. Although it was no different from the role-playing streaming mode of the thriller game Dungeon, in order to increase the sense of reality, the movie Dungeon added many plots belonging to the players. Task. Various requirements need to be met before it can be considered a truly complete interaction and the task can be completed. For old people like them who have experienced many games, this kind of thing is naturally familiar to them. Most players who are weak and have no power to resist can accept these things with peace of mind. However, Shenjian was different. He is a level 58 player, and his true strength far exceeds his current level. Even a 5-star player pales in comparison in front of Shenjian. Such an expert must have felt very tortured when he had to interact in front of some red-clothed and Ghost King level ghosts. Think of this. Wang Lan gave Shen Jian a "I've wronged you" expression calmly. Shen Jian? He tilted his head and looked at Wang Lan, whose face was constantly changing, and asked directly, "Do you have any information?" Wang Lan sorted out his thoughts. "Yes, according to my observation, the strength of this God Burial Valley is at least 5-star level. Even if it is not as good as this entire copy, it is not far behind. From the time I came here to now, at least 13 top Ghost Kings have entered. But no one came back. I suspect that the God Burial Valley can only be entered but not exited. Otherwise, these top Ghost Kings are in big trouble and have no time to care about the people outside." When saying this, her face was very solemn. Because judging from the size and supernatural intensity of this supernatural place, the God Burial Valley alone can become a 5-star dungeon with self-consistent ecology. And such a place turned out to be just a supernatural place in this copy. Is this movie copy really only 5-star difficulty? To this, she expressed doubts. She suspected that this was an unprecedented 6-star copy. Only in this way can the God Burial Valley exist as a supernatural place. By the way, Brother Shen, I have good news here. Isn't this hidden plot mission to prevent the birth of ghosts and gods? I took advantage of my identity in the Celestial Temple to successfully spread the news about the birth of ghosts and gods. Nowadays, most of the evil ghosts are. I know that there is a ghost and god sleeping here, and I am planning to suppress this ghost and god and let it continue to sleep. Shen Jian? Hear this. Shen Jian was startled. Good guy. I was just waiting for this ghost to be born, and you were actually holding me back from behind. Fortunately, this ghost and god is so powerful. Otherwise, you are still not allowed to complete this hidden plot mission? Think of this. Shen Jian's face darkened. I almost got stabbed in the back by a player. He walked directly into the God Burial Valley without hesitation. Relying on the power of the player alone, there is no way to prevent the ghosts and gods from being born, but if the players rely on the identity blessing of the Tianshan Temple and unite with the ghosts in Wutong City, they still have a chance to suppress the resurrection of the ghosts and gods. This kind of thing. He doesn't allow it. The ghost professor and school bell ghost on the side moved their beautiful eyes slightly when they saw this. Take a look. When it comes to saving Wutong City, this man is still so active. Whether he is dismantling the supernatural game app at Scarlet University or dismantling the Yin Cao headquarters in the Yin Cao Ghost Realm, he appears to be so majestic and upright. At the moment, when I heard that a ghost was about to be born, my first reaction was not to run away, but to run towards the opposite battlefield. This kind of spirit is extremely valuable in Ligui. If there is a knight in this world who adheres to the 10 moral qualities, it is undoubtedly Shen Jian. With this thought, the two of them followed. Wang Lan walked last. Looking sideways at the two combinations in front of them, one mature and one young, in the real world, if the two of them debut, they will undoubtedly become national goddesses in a short period of time, whether it is their figure, appearance, or their own level of terror. Let her feel ashamed. She can be considered a beauty, but there is no comparison with these two ghosts. Fortunately, Shen Jian is a human player, not a real ghost. Otherwise she really wouldn't have a chance. Soon, the four of them have arrived in front of the God Burial Valley. The moment they stepped in, they could clearly feel a layer of ghostly territory surrounding them. Ghost Professor Suro frowned. What a terrifying ghost realm. I can't resist this teleportation. Hear this. The expressions of the school bell and Wang Lan changed. Will the ghost realm in this place still separate people? Damn it. Too old. The reason why they dare to enter here is because Shen Jian is by their side. Otherwise, this is a supernatural place where ghost kings come and go. The two of them who are below Ghost Kings have a probability of death of more than 90%. Shen Jian glanced at it. Think about it. Put away the urge to destroy this supernatural place. Then he reached out and waved. 3 golden dragons roared with disgust and sank into the bodies of the 3 women. This is the complete version of Dragon Qi, which belongs to the Qing Kingdom and is also one of the jurisdictions of Zhoujuyan Tian Palace. If you occupy one, your luck will be improved to a level comparable to that of the European Emperor. Not only will you gain a lot in the supernatural land, at least not what kind of fatal crisis will you encounter? At the same time, there is a weak sense between Dragon Qi. This ensures that you won't lose contact. Do it all. Shen Jian ignored them. The figure disappeared at the entrance. His goal is to kill the ghosts and gods of the God Burial Valley, but he cannot let Wang Lan and other players realize their goals. Even if it were to come true, it would have to wait until he found clues about the world-weary ghosts and gods. This is the most important. Thinking. Shen Jian has entered the God Burial Valley. His eyes swept away. The place where he is should be a cemetery. Everywhere you look, there are pitted grey stones, black trees swaying, and the sound of wind is like a ghost howling, filled with an ominous atmosphere. A normal person would suffer a myocardial infarction within one night if he stayed here. The protagonist has stayed in a place like this for more than 10 years. Shen Jian was a little surprised. He thought it would be a beautiful place suitable for retirement, but he didn't expect that such an underworld would be almost the same as the Juyubakyan mountain in his underworld. Clang, clang, clang. At this time, suddenly there was a strange noise from one of the tombstones in the cemetery. A hand holding a shovel suddenly stretched out from a tombstone, and the black soil began to ooze blood. What followed was the miserable cry of a man. It's so painful, I'm in so much pain, it hurts me to death. While talking, the hand holding the shovel kept pulling outwards, as if trying to escape from the ground, but pulling in a circle had no effect, and only half of the wrist was still struggling feebly. Making a fearless resistance. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shiyu Buletin Chigua. Chapter 666. It hurts so much, it hurts me to death. The shrill screams came to mind intermittently. A pale ghost hand with only half of its wrist exposed holds a shovel, struggling to pull at the black soil. The sound is creepy, making people feel pity, making them restless, and causing negative emotions to surge into their hearts. Shen Jian saw it. There were bursts of weird smiles on his face. He was still thinking about how he would find the location of the ghost and god in such a big place. No, here comes the tour guide. Then, Shen Jian stepped forward very enthusiastically. Brother, I'm here. I'm not a good person, I'm not a bad person. Do you need help? Tell me. Shen Jian snatched the shovel away. Asked with concern. He pulled the black soil again, and his expression became angry. Who is riding a horse so cruelly, stuffing a good person into the soil? This is trying to suffocate you to death. You are not a thing. Are you okay? Is there anywhere pain? Graveyard ghost. He was stunned. Ghost hand even forgot to take back his shovel. He looked at the stunned Qing above in shock. Entering a strange place for the first time, and encountering strangers asking for help, how can you be so caring? Are you still a ghost? Are the ghosts outside so ignorant of the world? Or did he really meet a good ghost? Under normal circumstances, even if a Digui encounters him asking for help for the first time, he will not help him. Instead, he will just watch and walk away. If his behavior is worse, he will even attack him in turn, take away his shovel, and then dismember half of his wrist. Certainly. These are all his traps. The reason why he exposed the shovel was because he was sure that those of his kind would not give up this ghost weapon. As long as these same kind go to the cemetery because of greed, the outcome is doomed. But now, he met a kind man who helped him. For a while, the grave ghost was silent. There was even a hint of embarrassment in taking action. But this thought went away just as quickly as it came. Since he is a kind-hearted person, he should be pointed at gunpoint, so he probably wouldn't mind being suppressed in the cemetery here instead of him. With this thought, the graveyard ghost grabbed the bloody half of his wrist towards Shenjian, and his gloomy voice suddenly echoed, "My whole body hurts. I am buried in this cemetery. I feel so lonely. Since you call me brother, I guess you won't mind." His eyes were full of resentment and distortion, and his voice was hoarse. The sharp ghost sound was even harsher than fingernails scraping against the floor. "The words have not yet finished." Shenjian nodded. "You feel pain all over your body, right? According to my extensive experience in dozens of surgeries and deaths, your situation is very dangerous. The pressure of the soil has seriously squeezed your body organs, which is why you have symptoms of pain all over the body, but it's okay, don't worry, I have a solution." The words fell. A dark glint flashed in Shenjian's eyes. "Lift your foot and step hard." Along with the rumbling sound, the grave ghost discovered in horror that the black soil in which he was buried continued to rise, forming a stone pillar. And his body was wrapped in this stone pillar. Graveyard ghost. He was stunned. This scene simply blinded his 24K titanium alloy eyes. Damn it! This black soil is a supernatural thing that can suppress supernatural beings and very powerful ghosts. Even a top ghost king like him cannot escape through his own efforts once he is buried. But what does he see now? The shape of the black soil was changed. Although the supernatural suppression effect is still there, it is no longer complete. Give him some time and he will be able to break free on his own. This stupid young good man actually has such strength. It shouldn't be. Thinking. Shenjian continued, "This will make it easier to operate. I'll get the medical equipment." "Say it." Shenjian took out a blood-stained chainsaw from his body. The gears turn. The chainsaw began to roar. Graveyard ghost? He was stunned for a moment. His eyes immediately straightened. The two exposed arms struggled wildly. "What a medical device! Even if you take out a scalpel, I will unconditionally believe that you are a doctor, but why the hell do you take out a chainsaw?" Grass. Even in orthopedics, there is no reason to use a chainsaw to cut bones. The grave ghost was extremely frightened. "No, no, I can break free on my own, don't come over here." He resisted desperately. But most of his body was suppressed by the black soil, and he had no supernatural power to use at all. He could only watch Shenjian getting closer and closer to him. The sound of the chainsaw gears turning made him feel that he might as well be buried underground. "Don't resist, I'm here to help you. You're already in pain all over. If you wait any longer, it's likely to cause organ failure all over your body. The plan for now is to dismember you piece by piece, so as to ensure that you don't get sick. It will relapse." Shenjian explained patiently. "Soothe the patient's emotions. It gives people a feeling of abundant medical ethics. It's almost like they are medical parents, giving them meticulous attention. See it? The ghost on the grave cries for father and mother. What the hell, I cried to death. You are worried that my whole body organs will fail, but you are not worried that you will dismember me and I will die completely. You know mercy rescue. I saved the person as required. As for whether he can survive, I don't know. Wait, brother, don't treat me. I'm still useful. I really am still useful. The grave ghost screamed. He finally understood. He regarded this guy as a stupid good-hearted person, and he was simply blind. This is clearly a living king of hell, a living species. Death is not scary. For evil ghosts, death is just a process of falling into deep sleep. After more than 10 years, decades, or hundreds of years, they will still revive and wake up again. But the torture before death and the fear before death are truly painful experiences. This guy knows how to intimidate people. If you put it outside, it would be like a crying child. Hear this. Shen Jian's movements stagnated. He raised his eyebrows, as if he was a little regretful and disappointed. It's such a pity that I can't help you, brother. Graveyard ghost. The corners of his mouth twitched wildly. Thank you so much. Your treatment is extremely explosive in the entire medical field. The patients who take care of you will definitely go to heaven in the future. After all, being tortured by you has already cleansed me of my sins, and it won't make sense if I don't go to heaven. Brother, tell me. I will definitely tell you what you want to know. The grave ghost swallowed his saliva wildly. He no longer believed in Shen Jian's bad qualities, but under the roof, he had to lower his head and tell the other party the information he was interested in. He still had a chance to live. If he didn't tell him, he would just wait to become one piece after another. Don't be nervous, I can't eat people. Shen Jian looked at the other party with a smile. Do you know where the ghosts and gods here are buried? The grave ghost was slightly startled. Nodding wildly. I know, of course I know. I came here in the first place because I learned that the city lord of Entertainment City hid a treasure here. But I didn't expect that this place would be so dangerous. Even a top ghost king like me, they're all in trouble. This time, it was Shen Jian's turn to be stunned. Are you from the Entertainment City? Didn't a being like you, brother, come here after hearing about this? He said weakly. As a local ghost in the Entertainment City, he has seen various movies released by the city owner. Each movie is a brand new supernatural place. In these supernatural places, except for the protagonist of the movie, there are no other horrors. The presence. And with Shen Jian's ability to suppress the black soil with his kick, he was at least at the level of a ghost. Apart from coming from the Entertainment City, he really couldn't imagine any other possibility. Make it clear. Yes, the city lord of the Entertainment City said something like this more than a year ago. Do you want strength? Do you want rights? Do you want freedom? Go find it. I will hide all the authority that symbolizes strength and freedom in the movie. Since then, the ghosts in the Entertainment City have been like crazy, constantly pouring into movies everywhere, looking for the authority that the city lord said symbolizes strength and freedom, and we all believe that the higher the level of the supernatural place, the more powerful it will be. Possibly having these, they flocked here. According to our investigation, the authority mentioned by the city lord is hidden here. To be more precise, it should be hidden in the ghosts and gods buried here. Hear this. Shen Jian's eyes were filled with confusion. Permissions. Could this be referring to the third authority of Luo Fengtian? The owner of a Luo Fengtian is willing to give up the complete authority to control a Luo Fengtian, split it up, and let other evil ghosts obtain it? What a joke. Even the most selfless saint would not choose to give up this right. Because this not only means strength, but also the power to actually dominate Luo Fengtian in the underworld. Without these, the world-weary ghost and god is just an ordinary world-destroying ghost and god. Although it is rare, it has no uniqueness. Suddenly, Shen Jian then thought about the authority of the Qing kingdom except Luo Fengtian. According to Her Royal Highness the Princess, the authority of the Qing kingdom suddenly split one day and was divided into 9 parts and scattered in various places. Before that, Emperor Qing was also the master of Luo Fengtian. This time was more than a year ago. This time, Shen Jian was shocked. Isn't this the time when he obtains the status of king of Yama and officially begins the process of rebuilding the underworld? The underworld reappeared, and Luo Feng sensed this phenomenon for 6 days. No longer willing to be controlled by other ghosts and gods, so he collapsed on his own? And the world-weary ghosts and gods noticed this, and were forced to choose to let the ghosts of Entertainment City inherit part of their authority. So how can she control these people to ensure that complete authority is always in her hands? Shen Jian was thoughtful. If his guess is true, it is really incredible information. Because this means that no ghost or god can cross the underworld and control Luo Feng for 6 days. It is okay when the underworld is not around. Once the underworld reappears, the authority will return to the underworld. Look at it this way. This so-called God Burial Valley is most likely a trap. Think of this. Shen Jian is not worried but happy. According to the grave ghost, part of Luo Fengtian's authority in this third place is here. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yu Buletin Chi Gua. Chapter 667. At this time, the atmosphere at the scene fell into silence. Shen Jian's eyes lit up. The excitement on his face was undisguised. He did not expect that he would suddenly get such valuable information. Although it was not verified, he was basically sure that at the moment when the underworld reappeared, Luo Feng had a sense of each other for 6 days, abandoning his previous actual control. Because of this, Zhoujuyan Tian Palace, that is, the authority of the Qing kingdom, would suddenly collapse one day and turn into 9 dragon auras, scattered all over the place. As for the second place, Luo Fengtian, Olympus, because of its incomplete authority, it did not collapse. The third place, Luo Fengtian and Taisha Liangshi Zongtian Palace, which is the city of entertainment, has complete authority in the hands of world-weary ghosts and gods, so it also collapsed. However, unlike Emperor Qing, the world-weary ghost and god did not let the complete authority leave the scope of the entertainment city. Instead, she planned to let the fierce ghosts in her territory control part of the authority, firmly holding the complete control of Luo Fengtian in her hands. From this point alone, world-weary ghosts and gods are much more capable than Emperor Qing. And he doubted it? Those fierce ghosts who have mastered part of Luo Fengtian's authority on behalf of the world-weary ghosts and gods will probably end up not much better. After all, a ghost with authority, random thoughts, and ambitions, no matter how weak the terror level is, will still want to bite its master. Not to mention, the ghosts who can be selected by Luo Fengtian's partial authority are by no means simple figures. They are the top ghost kings with the lowest level of terror. All ghosts and gods are not surprised. No one would allow such a hidden danger to happen. Shen Jian was thoughtful. If his conjecture is correct, the God Burial Valley, which has part of the authority of the Taisha Liangshi sect Heavenly Palace, must have the backing of world-weary ghosts and gods. Or limit the permission recipients, or simply control them directly. At the same time, Shen Jian also thought of a question. Luo Fengtian has the authority to choose the master, and the most special being here is undoubtedly the protagonist Lin Yan. If the plot develops according to the plot, the protagonist will definitely gain the greatest benefits in the God Burial Valley, and there is a good chance that he will become the permission holder. In other words, the so-called protagonist is actually just a puppet who helps the world-weary ghosts and gods control the permissions. Think of this. Shen Jian clicked his tongue. He thought of a word, breeding farm. The protagonist of every large-scale supernatural movie is a tool man mass-produced by world-weary ghosts and gods. Whoever can help her control part of Luo Fengtian's authority will stand out. Like standardized products on the production line. Thinking. Shen Jian came to his senses. His eyes fell on the grave ghost again, his eyes burning. Graveyard ghost. Subconsciously, he put his hands in front of the stone pillar, as if to say, "Brother, I am not zero. Shen Jian's mouth twitched slightly. Fight with a big cock. He cursed and said, the interrogation, be very serious, do you know the exact location of that ghost and god? I don't know. As soon as I entered here, I triggered the supernatural in the cemetery and was buried here without even exploring the process. The grave ghost shook his head. Shen Jian said with disdain, then you are useless, just erected here as a totem? Maybe thousands of years later, it can become a totem symbol of a tribe. Say it. Without any hesitation, he turned and left. Huh? Wait, brother, I don't know, but I know who knows. The ghost on the grave is dancing. He has some tricks up his sleeve. This guy is so humming realistic. Once you know that he has no use value, just give him up. Not even the slightest hesitation. Before, he would have been very happy. Because in this way he can break free from the stone pillar on his own and regain his life. However, the moment Shen Jian turned around and left, strong supernatural fluctuations suddenly came from the ground in contact with the black soil, dragging the stone pillar where he was buried back into the hole. According to the current efficiency, it would take less than 2 minutes for him to return to his previous state, continue to be suppressed, and be buried in the black soil, never to see the light of day. At this time, only then did the ghost on the grave know that the reason he didn't sense the supernatural coming from the black soil just now was because Shen Jian was helping him suppress it all. Shen Jian left. The supernatural power of the black soil really exploded. And he had no chance to break free. Then he panicked. Prepare for another wave of rescue. Brother, before I was buried here, I walked around here. I saw a top ghost king hanging nearby. That ghost was definitely a powerful ghost that originally existed in the God Burial Valley. The other party must know that ghost. The whereabouts of ghosts and gods. Hear this. Shen Jian made a move. He raised his foot and stomped it again. The black soil surrounding the grave ghost was decomposed bit by bit, and finally it was struggling to fall out of the stone pillar. This moment, the grave ghost was completely shocked. Only he, who has truly seen the terrifying suppression of supernatural beings in the black soil, knows how terrifying this place is. Even he, the top ghost king, has no power to resist. However, Shen Jian could easily suppress and even dissipate this supernatural force. More importantly, he did not see any decent supernatural fluctuations on Shen Jian during the whole process, as if he completely suppressed the black soil with just a slight stamp of his foot. Such strength is incredible. Strong as a yuppie. It shocked him. Damn it! If you have such strength, why do you want to compete with us little shrimps? He was furious inside. His attitude became more respectful. Lead the way. To this. Shen Jian's expression didn't change much, as if he just did something he could easily do, and said calmly. The ghost on the grave did not dare to hesitate. Immediately guided Shen Jian to his destination. The distance is not that far. It is located less than 100 meters away from the cemetery. Rows of black trees take root on both sides of the black soil, and all the plants growing there are coated with a dark luster. Under the shade of the trees, everything looks dim, like a bloody mouth open wide, waiting for prey. Take the bait. The grave ghost stopped, a bit of fear flashed in his eyes. Brother, it's right here. When I first moved here, I originally planned to go in to find out what was going on, but I encountered an extremely terrifying hanged ghost inside. The level of terror was at least at the top ghost king level. I even suspected that, the other party has been infinitely close to the ghosts and gods, which is why I escaped in such a panic, and happened to step on the black soil of the supernatural being, and was buried underground. Hear this. Shen Jian moved. Stepping into the territory of the black forest. The surrounding trees began to sway. A strange wailing sound was made. The trees seemed to come to life, with rustling sounds blowing on the tree trunks, and heads hanging down. These heads were all ghosts, with a grim and twisted face opened, and their eyes fell on Shenjian. For a while, a feeling of depression and suffocation came over me. When the grave ghost saw this, his scalp suddenly went numb. Damn it! The terrifying scene he experienced at that time was actually not the limit of the hanged ghost. If the hanged ghost had lowered the heads of these evil ghosts to surround him from the beginning, he would not even have a chance to walk out. Brother, we seem to be surrounded. This hanging ghost is more terrifying than I imagined. The heads hanged here are all ghost kings above the abyss level. There are more than 10 top ghost kings. Although it is cumulative, the number is astonishing. Shenjian looked as usual. He cast his gaze into the depths. Take one step. The distance of 100 meters became a mere inch, allowing him to cross the border in one step. Appeared in front of an extremely lush tree. On the tree with a human head hanging, a man with tattered clothes looked like a ghost crawling out of a grave. His head was hanging low, and half of his neck was about to fall off as the thick tree trunk strangled him. Realizing that Shenjian suddenly appeared in front of him, the hanged man raised his head suddenly and his pupils opened wide. When I type this question mark, it's not that I have a problem, but that I think you have a problem. How the hell did you get here? The black soil isolates all ghost realm type supernatural beings, let alone teleportation. If you can expand the ghost realm, you are considered awesome. But just now, he saw this guy move directly to him. How could this be possible? Thinking. Shenjian also stared directly at the hanged man, with an evil smile on his face. Why are you climbing so high at night? It's too dangerous. Don't panic. I'll save you. Shenjian said. He took out an ancient longsword from his body. The sharp edge of the longsword flashed in the darkness. Hanged man. His expression changed. Piss off. I need you to save me. Can't you see that the tree is my real body? And if you save people, you save them. Why did you take out your sword? This late at night, you were holding a sword, with a weird smile on your face, and you came to save me one after another. I really believed in your evil talent. The hanged man felt a chill in his heart. But at this time, Shenjian is getting closer and closer. There was a smile on his face, but the malice in his eyes was not concealed at all. Don't be afraid. Judging from your appearance, your neck is entangled in the tree trunk. I will come to rescue you right away. Said. Shenjian raised the 7-star demon sword in his hand. Don't. The hanged man's face turned green. Where are you aiming? Are you cutting down the tree trunk or my head? Shenjian gave him a strange look. What I'm saying is, my neck is wrapped around my neck, why should I chop down the tree trunk? Hanged man? He was completely stunned. My uncle, you are really a little genius. I was speechless at what I said. Even the mentally retarded association doesn't accept this genealogy. Think of this. The hanged man couldn't hold himself any longer, and his whole body exploded with yin energy. He stared straight at Shenjian with a pair of dead fish eyes, and said sullenly, you deserve to die if you really step on the horse. The words fell. A thick branch hung down from the tree with a human head, and wrapped around Shenjian's neck like a python. See this. The hanged man was overjoyed. I originally thought that Shenjian was some kind of being who pretends to be a pig and eats the tiger. He can use teleportation in areas where ghosts are prohibited, but he didn't expect that he would be tricked so easily. Although the branches wrapped around Shenjian's neck looked easy to tear, in fact, once his supernatural attack was launched, even the top ghost king could not break free. They will be tightly entangled, their heads will be chopped off, and their ghost bodies will be dismembered. It's useless no matter how powerful you are. That's what I thought. The next second, a cold light passed by. Shenjian raised the 7-star demonic sword and with a slight stroke, the branch broke directly. This moment, the sinister smile on the hanged ghost's face froze. Before he could react, Shenjian struck out with his sword again. The human-headed tree, which was more than dozens of meters high, was cut in half. Hanged man. He was dumbfounded. How could his own body be dismembered so easily? Damn it! It's noisy. My roots are rooted in the black soil. Even if ghosts and gods come, it is impossible to dismember his body in this situation. This guy is too outrageous. Just thinking about it? The hanged man was horrified to find that the ancient sword that had just dismembered his body was already placed around his neck. I helped you free yourself, or you touched. He wanted to cry but had no tears. I don't dare to move, I really don't dare to move. At that time, the sword was only 0.01 centimeters away from me, so I dared not move it. If you move, you might end up dead. Brother, I'm convinced. Please use your magical powers. Brother, I can't help but be scared. The hanged man surrendered in humiliation. Hands raised. He said he no longer dared to do so. See this? Shenjian asked, do you know where the ghosts and gods buried here are? The hanged man was stunned. Then he pointed out the direction without any hesitation. Over there in the cemetery is the most dangerous place of Yinchi. There are a lot of ghosts buried there who are ready to move. The ghost and god is sleeping in one of the cemeteries, but no one knows which one it is. You don't know either? Shenjian asked. I don't know. Although I have lived here a long time ago, the ghost and god were actually buried here not long ago. Before that, this place was just a slightly dangerous supernatural place. It was not that big at all. Something special. Smell it? Shenjian pondered for a moment. The complete collapse of Luo Feng's authority happened within the past 2 years, but this god burial valley existed when the protagonist was born and became the protagonist of this movie copy. Judging from this time, the special thing is indeed it only existed not long ago. Even in the original plot summary, it was doubtful whether this ghost and god would revive. Got the information I needed. Shenjian suffered from obsessive-compulsive disorder. Looking at the hanging man's shaky head, he chose to help. Take off the opponent's head. So it won't drive you to death from obsessive-compulsive disorder. Comfortable. Do it all. Shenjian showed a satisfied smile. Out of the black trees, Shenjian brought the grave ghost with him. This top ghost king is a local ghost from the 3rd Luo Fengtian Entertainment City and knows a lot of information about world-weary ghosts and gods. After Shenjian repeated the words of the hanged ghost, the grave ghost immediately said excitedly, "This is the right place. Before we came in, we had thought that the most special place in this supernatural place is located where the gods are buried, which is the cemetery. Cemeteries, mass graves, and the like. As for how to find this ghost and god, we don't actually have to look for it, because judging from the trend of supernatural places coming to Wutong City, this ghost and god is actually in the stage of recovery, and maybe it has already awakened. We just need to wait, and the other party will happen naturally." The grave ghost was extremely excited. Although he had no chance to obtain the permissions mentioned by the city lord of Entertainment City, he didn't have much hope in the first place, and his failure could only be said to be expected. But his newly recognized elder brother was different. That strength was simply the most terrifying of all the ghosts he had ever seen. It was completely random killing in this supernatural place. As long as ghosts and gods are born, the ultimate winner will only be his eldest brother. If you can't become a permission holder, becoming the permission holder's younger brother seems to be a good choice. After all, obtaining authority means that one has entered the eyes of the city lord of Entertainment City. Coupled with the already terrifying strength of the eldest brother, as long as he leaves here, he will immediately become a high-level executive of Entertainment City and become the City Lord's right-hand man. By then, as a younger brother, shouldn't he be able to follow his elder brother and enjoy the good life? Think of this. The grave ghost is more active. He took the initiative and said, "Brother, maybe we can go to the cemetery more slowly." If this ghost and God is already in the recovery stage, then the cemetery is undoubtedly the most dangerous place right now. Is there any faster shortcut to recovery than swallowing a group of ghosts? I suspect that the cemetery has become a slaughterhouse for that ghost and God. As soon as a certain number of powerful ghosts appear there, the ghost and God will activate their supernatural powers and attack everyone. We can definitely follow the example of humans. The mantis stalks the cicada, and the oriole follows behind. Once those people consume the power of the ghosts and gods, we will reap the benefits. Hear this. Shen Jian glanced at the grave ghost. Then have you heard a word yet? It's called, no matter what conspiracy you have, I will defeat it myself. Say it. Shen Jian walked towards the cemetery. Rather than sneaking around and fishing in troubled waters, he prefers to give this ghost a head-on blow when he is most proud, most rampant, and most excited. As for whether he would lose it, that was not his consideration. As the king of hell, he is also the lord of the underworld and the lord of the underworld with the incarnations of the 8 yamas. He does not need to sit back and reap the benefits. Graveyard ghost. He stared blankly at Shen Jian's back. So arrogant, no, it's confidence. This big brother is extraordinary. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shiyu Buletin Chigua. Chapter 668. Cemetery. This place is located deep in the valley and is built on a mass grave. In other words, the so-called cemetery is to put tombstones on top of the mass grave. If there are too many tombstones, it becomes a cemetery. When Shen Jian came here, everywhere you look is dark. There is a ghostly atmosphere, and a large number of tombstones and grave mounds formed by wooden plaques are scattered around. Some of these tombstones are new, some are worn, and some are mostly missing, and even the words on the tombstones are blurred. Shen Jian glanced around. You can see a large number of ghosts above the Ghost King level gathered here. Abyss level appeared in piles, and there were also many top Ghost Kings. This kind of number is undoubtedly abnormal when placed in a normal 5-star dungeon. The Eternal Night Kingdom dungeon is already considered an extremely difficult mode in a 5-star dungeon, but even so, the number of top Ghost Kings does not exceed 10. And this dungeon, which is advertised as a 5-star movie difficulty level, has nearly 20 top Ghost Kings in just one Yin Cao headquarters, and this does not include the number in the Temple of Heaven and Wutong City. And here, there are more. He just took a quick look and found that there were at least 30 top Ghost Kings appearing in the God Burial Valley, and there were even more Ghost Kings at the Abyss level and below. After all, there are at least 200 ghosts gathered here, including Ghost Kings. This scale is already considered a ghost tide. Once gathered together, it is enough to overthrow any 5-star supernatural land. Even the top 5-star supernatural land with ghosts and gods sitting there cannot withstand the ghost tide of this scale. Shen Jian clicked his tongue. In this thriller game, Bitchy is as shameless as ever. A copy of this level dares to advertise that it is only 5-star difficulty. It was meant to deceive players who had never participated in a 5-star dungeon and had never seen the world. But for him, he knew exactly how difficult a 5-star dungeon was. Thinking. Several voices sounded. Little husband. Brother Shen. One voice is playful, the other is crisp. Shen Jian looked over. It is the ghost Professor Suro and the school beauty ghost. Little husband, what was it that you injected into my body? It was numb and numb. It felt very comfortable. My luck has improved a lot, you see, I have reached the Abyss level. Ghost Professor Suro came close to Shen Jian's ear, exhaling hot breath, and a fragrant wind blew into his face. Her eyes were full of curiosity. The golden dragon energy injected into her body before the young lady's husband finally disappeared in the God Burial Valley must have some effect that she didn't know about, especially after entering the God Burial Valley. She could be said to be possessed by the European Emperor. First, she directly appeared in a place of yin qi and picked up a handful of ghost weapons. After walking a few steps, she picked up a fruit full of condensed yin qi. After swallowing it, she was infinitely close to the abyss-level yin qi. Qi, a breakthrough came all of a sudden. Then, she walked into the valley, which was obviously an extremely dangerous place, without triggering any supernatural attacks, and arrived at the cemetery as if she were sightseeing. The whole process was boring. This smoothness reminded her of Shen Jian's last operation. Shen Jian. His eyes were different. Can the injection of one-stop energy produce such an effect? He has 5 dragon auras, and his luck has reached the maximum, but there are very few opportunities to trigger this characteristic. Let alone picking up artifacts while walking, even if he is looking for them, he may not be able to gain anything. MMP. Is this King Guo's authority acting on me? Or is it that luck and Max can't bring me along? Shen Jian's mouth twitched slightly. I suppressed this sad thought. Good. Shen Jian smiled. Subconsciously, she put her hand on the head of this intellectual female professor. This action made Professor Digui Suro roll her eyes at Shen Jian and said angrily, "You really think I am a child here to show off, young lady? You are much younger than me." She emphasized the word small. There was a little playfulness and some suggestive bad taste in the words. Shen Jian raised his eyebrows. Looking at the protagonist's aunt who showed provocation to him, and then at the school beauty ghost who was still standing aside, there was a wave of confusion in his eyes. This intellectual female professor seemed to be holding herself back. Dare to tease him on this occasion. However, since the protagonist recognized his relatives, he has indeed not exchanged taboo topics with Suro. After all, there are too many people in the family and it is too dangerous. And the beautiful woman Suro also occupies him. Even if he is a master of time management, it will be difficult for him to secretly communicate with the protagonist's aunt about his unethical behavior without anyone noticing. The other side. The school beauty ghost, who was also ready to share the joy, watched the interaction between the future father-in-law and the boyfriend's aunt. The more she watched, the more she felt that something was wrong. The two of them seemed too close. And she discovered that this familiar and most beautiful professor at Scarlet University seemed to be teasing her father-in-law, intentionally or unintentionally. They don't behave like a family member at all, but rather like a man and woman in an ambiguous period. She had actually noticed this phenomenon a few days ago. But I didn't think much about it. But now she saw the heavy behavior between the two with her own eyes, and she thought of some possibility. Some kind of ridiculous idea. Think of this possibility. She lowered her head in panic, her face was a little hot, and she didn't know what she was thinking. Oh my God. Not only did she have some thoughts about this future father-in-law, but even her boyfriend's aunt seemed to be very fond of this man, and it had already reached the stage of ambiguity. Is this a man who wants to steal his sister? It's too immoral. Isn't she an ideological and political professor at Scarlet University? Why would you do this? Or do this with your sister's man? Countless thoughts arise in the school beauty ghost's mind. It caused a storm in her heart. But she also seems to have no position in calling the professor morally corrupt. Because after she knew that this man would be her future father-in-law, she also had some small thoughts. Although there is no actual action yet, according to human terms, this is already considered spiritual cheating. For a while, she was distraught. This scene. Naturally, it also fell into the eyes of Ghost Professor Suro. She bit her lips lightly and whispered in an ambiguous tone, "Young husband, you are really charming. She is my nephew's fiancée and my sister's daughter-in-law, but the way she looks at you is obviously not right, and there is something hidden behind it." Thought. If my nephew knew that you not only stole his mother, but also his fiancée also has feelings for you, he would probably fight you to the death. Shen Jian. No. I really haven't conquered the main character's fiancée. She had Stockholm Syndrome and became dependent on me. The more he ignored her, the more she started to attack herself. Thoughts are spinning. Suddenly, a private message appeared on the chat interface. Shen Jian took a look. It was sent by Wang Lan. "Sister Lan, brother Shen, can you come? I have something important to tell you." Shen Jian was startled. He glanced at Wang Lan, who was standing among a group of players, and then looked at the distance between them, which was less than 100 meters. It takes a few steps to reach him. Apparently. Wang Lan also noticed the hidden meaning in Shen Jian's eyes. "Sister Lan, I just wanted to go there, but I was forced to come back. The protagonist's aunt, she didn't let me go, or she was warning me." Speaking of which, Wang Lan was also speechless. She just wanted to make her presence felt and explain the information here to Shen Jian. Unexpectedly, the protagonist's aunt immediately became murderous. Guard against him like a wolf. She was so wronged. Moreover, Shen Jian is a human being, so what's the use of you getting involved? How could humans be interested in a cold body of a ghost? At the same time, saw this message. Shen Jian glanced at the innocent-looking female professor standing next to him. The more he came into contact with this intellectual female professor, the more he discovered that the other person's appearance and interior were too well disguised. On the surface, she is a highly respected female professor. She is cold and cold. Although she will not reject people from thousands of miles away, she will not show any kindness to anyone that goes beyond a normal relationship. Behind the scenes, she is a rebellious girl who is a little naughty, full of bad taste, and has extremely low moral quality. Oh, he's also quite possessive. Think about it. Shen Jian clicked on the chat interface. "King Yama, just tell me directly." "Sister Lan, okay, I just communicated with other players, and they all agree that the ghost and god hiding the plot mission is here, but we don't know which tombstone belongs to him." "Mr. Qi, Master, this is indeed the case. I followed the exploration team of Tianshan Temple here after some testing. It seems that there are some supernatural rules in the tombstones here. As long as someone wakes up the existence under the tombstone, there will be something under the tomb. A ghost crawls out, and whoever awakens the ghost will attack the person. Mr. Qi, even if you kill the tomb ghost will pass on the supernatural curse after death. This curse has no solution and is an absolute hit. Mr. Qi, according to our observations, once there are more than 3 tomb ghost curses on the body, it will also trigger some unknown supernatural attack, dragging the cursed person into the cemetery and forming a new tombstone. Lian Cheng, brother Shen, the current situation is that no one dares to try anymore. They are all waiting for Leng Toking to experiment one by one, but according to the current situation, I am afraid it will take more than 300 ghosts to experiment one by one to achieve accurate results. Find out the location of the ghost." "Sister Lan, the situation is like this, but it is still not the most critical thing. We found that the purpose of this group of ghosts who entered the God Burial Valley seems to be different from ours. Our purpose is to prevent the ghosts and gods from being born before they wake up. However, the evil spirits are preparing to awaken the ghosts and gods. Sister Lan, we have no chance of winning. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Buletin Chi Gua. Chapter 669. Messages in the chat interface are public. All players can see the chat content above. Looking at the dense collection of intelligence, everyone was silent for a while. I wish I could scold all the 18th generation ancestors of horror games. Letting a group of players with an average level of 20 or 30 enter a 5-star movie dungeon is already an extremely outrageous act. It can be said that there is no lower limit. But now they discovered that the behavior of horror games is not the most outrageous, only more outrageous. According to the requirements of the hidden plot mission, they need to go to the Valley of the Buried Gods to prevent the birth of ghosts and gods. On the way, they rely on the Tianshan Temple as an endorsement and tell the ghosts who plan to enter the Valley of the Buried Gods that the birth of this ghost and god will bring unknown things. The effect is very significant. Many fierce ghosts expressed that they could not allow a ghost whose position was uncertain to appear in Wutong City. However, when they entered the God Burial Valley and arrived at the cemetery, they realized that they had thought too simply. Most of the ghosts who are willing to work with them to prevent the birth of ghosts and gods are local ghosts in this copy. There are many top ghost kings among these ghosts, but the number is too small. A full shot would only be 3 to 5. But there were more than 25 people who wanted to wake up ghosts and gods. With such a huge disparity, awakening ghosts and gods has become a certain fact. They spoke lightly and did not dare to come forward at this time, for fear of being targeted and killed on the spot. In other words, their mission failed. With such a huge lineup, whoever dares to object may instantly become a thorn in the side of dozens of top ghost kings. Not to mention them, even Shen Jian, the big boss who single-handedly destroyed the Yinko headquarters, they didn't have much hope. Saying it will only increase your worries. Trying to survive. See these. Shen Jian looked as usual. He didn't show any embarrassment, but instead wanted to laugh. Because his stance is really different from the players. The next second, Shen Jian looked at the messy tombstones. There are more than 300 tombstones here. According to players, there is a tomb ghost buried under every tombstone. Once awakened, it will automatically haunt the being who awakened it until the death of one of them. And after the tomb ghost dies, it will also impose a layer of curse before death. Once there are more than 3 curses, the supernatural laws of the cemetery will be triggered, dragging the cursed person underground and becoming a new tombstone. It can be said that this is completely the big blind box of death. If he awakens a ghost whose terror level far exceeds his own, the consequences can be imagined. Even if he had the strength to deal with the tomb ghosts, he would only dare to wake them up twice. Among the more than 300 tombstones, the possibility of randomly awakening the ghosts and gods twice was close to 0. The only way is to let more unknowing cannon fodder wake up these tomb ghosts one by one and use the elimination method to filter out the correct answers. But it also creates new problems. Where did so many people get taken advantage of? Except for players, the ghosts who dare to enter the God Burial Valley basically have the strength above the Ghost King level, and they are not fools. When faced with this situation, most people choose to wait and see for the time being. It's been a long time. It will evolve into another situation. If you don't have enough cannon fodder, you'll have to force it out. Start selecting from the weakest ghosts. And among all the evil ghosts in the audience, who else has a lower level of terror than the player? Shen Jian quickly thought of this possibility. Once it evolves into this situation, it is not a question of whether the player can complete the task, but whether he can survive. Apparently, Wang Lan and others realized this situation and chose to ask him for help. Think of this. Shen Jian came to a tombstone. Watched with interest. The black soil is connected under the tombstone, which isolates all sensory-type supernatural beings and all ghost-type supernatural beings. It can also suppress the supernatural effects, causing the ghosts to completely lose their special characteristics as ghosts. Once buried, even the top Ghost King cannot escape. At this point, He had already seen it from the grave ghost. He was very interested in this black soil. I think it can be used as the underworld earth. Thinking. Ghost Professor Suro stepped forward, her face became solemn, she shook her head and said, "Don't try, I have already tried it once. Killing the tomb ghost under the tombstone will be infected with a layer of supernatural curse. Although one or two will not affect your own condition, but it's hard to guarantee whether there will be any other sequelae." Shenjian raised his eyebrows. "Have you not considered not killing the tomb ghost?" Ghost Professor Suro. She was slightly startled. He looked at Shenjian with an inexplicable expression. As if looking at a fool. If she doesn't kill the tomb ghost, she will be attacked by ghosts all the time. Once the other party superimposes supernatural powers to the limit, even she is an abyss-level ghost king, and she is not safe. The school beauty ghost also said weakly, the tomb ghost awakened by Professor Su is also an abyss level. If we don't kill it, the professor himself will die. Shenjian nodded slightly. Under normal circumstances, ghosts of the same level may have the supernatural power to kill each other, but suppressing and imprisoning them is not possible at the same level, unless the strength of the supernatural power far exceeds the normal level, and the supernatural power is suitable for imprisonment. In this case, for the sake of insurance, it is naturally safest to kill. Wait. Drop this sentence. Shenjian came to a tombstone. Kicked over the tombstone with one kick. Ghost Professor Suro. School bell. A group of players. Damn it. What the hell are you doing? If you want to wake up the tomb ghost, you can't use such a rude method. This will do no good unless it angers the ghosts buried in the grave. They had seen a ghost king overturning a tombstone before. The tomb ghost underground immediately became furious, and the level of terror suddenly reached the abyss level. It directly dismembered the ghost king who overturned the tombstone into dozens of unevenly sized pieces. It can be said that angering the grave ghost is the stupidest idea. The other side. All the fierce ghosts gathered at the scene also saw Shenjian's extremely rough behavior. Everyone showed an expression of watching a good show. They just need such a stupid young man to wake up the tomb ghost and let them rule out a wrong answer again. Just thinking about it? The next second, the pupils of the ghosts widened and their eyes stared straight. They see. As Shenjian violently kicked over the tombstone, a cold aura emerged. That was the precursor to the tomb ghost's awakening. And the level of terror has reached the level of the top ghost king. Sure enough, angering the tomb ghost is the stupidest choice. Every stupid young man who angers the tomb ghost will eventually face a ghost that far exceeds his own level of terror. That young man is finished. Soon. A pale hand stretched out, and then the head of an old man with a face covered in mud, like a skinny monkey, emerged from the grave. His eyes were full of gloom, and he looked around. He seems to be looking for the dog that kicked over his tombstone. But after scanning around, the withered old man could only see a dense group of people standing not far away, but he could not find the unqualified murderer. Dry old man? There was a flash of doubt in his eyes. What's the situation? Where are people? Shouldn't he just run away after getting addicted to feed? If that's the case, that's too cheap. And the dry old man noticed that the people outside were looking at him a little strangely. He glanced down. He has already stretched out a ghost hand and a head. Climbing out of the tombstone is not a problem. There is nothing wrong. So what are these people looking at? She looked at him like she was looking at animals from across the zoo. Just thinking about it? The withered old man suddenly noticed that a big hand stretched out from behind his back and grasped both sides of his head little by little. Judging from the position, it seemed to be pressing his temples. Such a scene. All the ghosts present were stunned for a moment. How? Now you regret irritating this man, are you ready to be a dutiful son and give him a massage? Is there a possibility that it's too late? Then, in an instant, click, there was a crisp sound of bones breaking. Immediately afterwards, the withered old man's head quickly rotated 90 degrees and was completely removed. This moment, everyone couldn't help but widen their eyes. Damn it! I bet you're not helping your temples to find a point of grip and then remove someone else's head. Gan. It's so filial, it's like being filial to everyone. See this scene. The ghosts were in an uproar. Everyone looked at Shen Jian as if they had seen a ghost. The one who cares about his mother is the master. In the most gentle way, he removed other people's heads with a smile. The whole process was chilling. For them, being killed and dismembered is not uncommon. Their threshold for cruelty is inherently higher than that of normal humans. But just looking at Shen Jian's method of quietly removing the head of a top ghost king made them feel a bit horrified. Unknown death is often the most frightening thing. For the withered old man, that moment of contact would probably give him a heart attack. Certainly. There were also some top ghost kings who looked at Shen Jian with fear on their faces. Removing the head of a top ghost king in an instant and causing it to freeze is not like a human being, who will die if the head is removed. For the top ghost king, removing the head will not affect normal actions at all. However, the reality is that the dry old man is dead. Fell into a dead state. This shows that the moment Shen Jian came into contact with the withered old man, he not only removed the opponent's head, but also directly suppressed the supernatural power of a top ghost king, making him powerless to resist. Such strength may only be achieved by those beings who are infinitely close to ghosts and gods. For a while, the place fell into a deathly silence. For all this, Shen Jian ignored it. Holding the old man's withered head, he came to the nearest tombstone and placed the head on it as a tribute. There are still words in his mouth. Look, how kind I am to you. I came to worship you and brought tributes. Eat quickly. After eating, I will steal tributes to support you. Group of ghosts. They stared at Shen Jian's behavior in stunned silence. They all took a deep breath. If you just listen to the voice, this is an affectionate man who chooses to trample the law to support himself and his family in order to make a living. However, the reality is that this is a cemetery, and the ground is full of corpses. And the so-called affectionate man is muttering to himself and smiling strangely. The so-called tribute is that he just cruelly picked off the head of a lonely old man. Their scalps felt numb. Damn it, I suggest you strictly check this man's mental state. He doesn't look like he's acting. What kind of ghost is the scariest? Evil ghosts are cruel and evil ghosts are violent. These can be seen from the appearance. But there is another ghost who behaves very normally. Get off work at 8 o'clock every day at the latest, don't smoke or drink, go to bed at 11 o'clock in the evening and ensure a sufficient 8 hours of sleep, drink a glass of warm milk before going to bed, and then do 20 minutes of soothing exercise to warm up before going to bed, and never let fatigue and stress go away. Leave it to the next day, and even the doctor said it was normal. This kind of ghost is the scariest thing. They couldn't imagine what kind of mysterious and cruel past this seemingly humble man had. If he died, the funeral would be worth at least 100 million. There was a moment of silence. A top ghost king bit the bullet and said, "Brother, although you are powerful, the supernatural laws of the cemetery are not vegetarian. It is better to keep your useful body and wait until the end to show it. And it's useless even if you do this. Once the tomb ghost is awakened, there will be no room for us. Reasoning with reason and emotion are useless. Or, it would be more useful if you simply dig the grave. If you do this, the grave ghost may not know that you are trying to wake him up. Hear this." Shen Jian shook his head. "Digging the grave is a great disrespect to the deceased. I would rather go to trouble and wait for him to come out before killing him, rather than pollute the resting place of the deceased. Just imagine, after you die, your grave will be trampled and destroyed by strangers, will you feel better? Said. Shen Jian glanced around the crowd with a disappointed look on his face. As if they were some heinous villains. Group of ghosts. Their facial muscles twitched wildly. You're so cute, what's your position in saying this? Aren't you the one who trampled the deceased the most just now? If you knew how to respect, you wouldn't show the withered old man's dead head. Shen Jian was unable to deal with all the top ghost kings. Just about to say something. Suddenly, another cold breath emerged. The source came from Shen Jian. Apparently, Shen Jian's rambling words still revived the tomb ghost. Judging from the fluctuations of yin qi, this turned out to be another top ghost king. This is too much luck. Awakening the tomb ghosts at the top ghost king level twice in a row. Such a supernatural curse might be as effective as 3 times. Think of this. The ghosts watched intently. Everyone wants to know whether the supernatural laws of the cemetery have any effect on a being that is infinitely close to ghosts and gods, or whether a top ghost king of this level can withstand the supernatural attacks in the cemetery. If possible, it proves that the supernatural power of the cemetery has its limits. If not, then we can only follow the original plan and let those low-level ghosts become cannon fodder. With this thought, they waited and watched one by one. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Waited for a long time. Nothing crawled out. Only the fluctuating aura of yin qi proved that there was indeed a tomb ghost at the level of a top ghost king under the tombstone, but for some reason, the tomb ghost did not choose it. Ghosts? They were stunned for a moment, and then their pupils suddenly shrank. Is this tomb ghost scared? Damn it, a top ghost king is actually scared. It just blinds me. No matter how ferocious the tomb ghost is, he still picks people up. Wait, isn't this saying that we are all weaklings? Bah, I can only bully the weak and fear the strong, and be a coward. It shouldn't be, and can the tomb ghost not appear? If so, how can we find the burial place of that ghost and God? Seeing the tomb ghost, everyone really didn't dare to show up, and everyone suddenly became noisy. I find it incredible. That is the tomb ghost known as the big blind box of death. I was so scared. Even if he was awakened, he didn't dare to stand up and confront Shen Jian. What a shame. After this wave, not to mention treating the tomb ghosts for autism, they will also become depressed. At the same time, Shen Jian was also a little surprised when the ghost from the tomb did not come out. He glanced at the tombstone. There are still vague writings on the tombstone. Shen Jian saw it. Buried beneath this is a female ghost. According to the handwriting on the tombstone, her name seems to have the character in it. Then, Shen Jian cautiously guided her step by step. Sister Ghost, Yu. Sister Yu. I am your brother Ri. I know you are hiding in there, stop hiding, come out quickly. Don't worry, there are good people out there, and I will protect you. As the sound rang out, the yin energy under the tombstone fluctuated even more violently. It seemed that he was a little emotional. Grass. That big-headed ghost Yu. Do you think I'm a 3-year-old? I live next to that old man on horseback. Do you think I can't see what you just did? Even if I starve to death or suffocate underground, I will never crawl out. The surging yin qi showed her unease at the moment. Even though she is a top ghost king, she is still a woman who is most afraid of meeting a pervert. He is also a pervert who is stronger than her. Thinking. Shen Jian saw no movement for a long time. His expression also became dangerous. A casual wave. Golden light surged. The void rippled and turned into golden whirlpools. In the vortex, golden spears emerged one after another, aiming at the tombstone where the female ghost is. There is a sense of déjà vu that if you don't come out, you will be pierced by thousands of swords and stabbed to death by random guns. Female grave ghost. She hid underground, looking at the dense golden whirlpools and thousands of spears in the upper room of the void. She was almost frightened out of her soul. Damn it! Damn it! Brother Ri, don't be impulsive. After 3 strokes, 5 divided by 2, the female grave ghost used all her strength to dig open her own grave, and got out directly. She was about to cry but said without tears, Brother Ri, your sister Yuiyu has come out. It would be great if it were like this earlier. Shen Jian said quietly. He looked at the king's treasure house that he had already used. His eyes suddenly fell on the other tombstones. Think about it. The words of ghosts and gods are activated. The sound of Juyu resounded throughout the sky. You sons of bitches, you losers who are wasting air when you are alive and waste of land when you are dead, get out of here. The sound resounded and quickly spread throughout the cemetery. A large amount of yin-qi fluctuations began to surge around. The dense ghost energy erupted at the same time, creating a gloomy ghost mist. It makes one's hair stand on end. Shudder. Everyone was confused. We want to use the elimination method to find the burial places of ghosts and gods hidden in the cemetery. We don't want you to fire the map cannon and anger all the ghosts in the cemetery at once. Your map cannon is going to kill people. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shiyu Bulletin Chigua. Chapter 670. At this time, the whole cemetery seemed to come alive. The yin energy is surging, the ghost energy is dense, and there are many ghosts. Deep resentment and anger quickly spread at a speed visible to the naked eye, and the air began to distort, showing invisible waves for all to see. The tombstones began to shake violently, and pale, broken, and decayed ghost hands stretched out from them, followed closely by the heads. The supernatural law of the cemetery is that as long as someone awakens the ghost under the tombstone, the ghost will appear. There is no limit to this arousal. It can be by moving the tombstone, taking out related objects, or dictating. And now, if Shen Jian fires the map cannon, it meets the conditions for the tomb ghost to be awakened. Then, the ghosts in the whole cemetery woke up. There were curses on his face. His grandma's. We were buried in the ground without incident and acted as our own coffin keepers. First, we did not disturb others, second, we did not violate the law, and third, we did not affect the governance of the cemetery. But there happened to be a dog who pointed something at their noses and scolded them, and the scolding was so unpleasant that it was simply unsightly. Too much effort and lack of quality. For this kind of person, you must give him a taste of color. Think of this. A large number of angry tomb ghosts crawled out of the tombstones. He stared at Shen Jian with a ferocious and twisted grimace. Among them, there are ghost kings, abyss-level ghost kings, and unsolvable-level ghost kings. There are even no less than 3 top ghost kings who are infinitely close to ghosts and gods. This is the heritage accumulated by the cemetery over the years. In this place alone, the overall lineup is no worse than Yinko headquarters. If the ghost and god of the Yinko palace are eliminated, it may be even better. Saw this scene. All the players' faces turned green. Your uncle's thriller game. They actually let a group of players who couldn't even reach the red level be forced into this supernatural place that could destroy a country. With such a lineup of tomb ghosts, even if 2 ghosts and gods came, one of them would have to be left behind. Only those with back support can leave. Regardless of whether these tomb ghosts will all wake up, just imagining them walking around unpreparedly on the heads of so many tomb ghosts makes me feel terrified. I just feel like snow in June, freezing to the core. Then, they looked at Shen Jian, the initiator of this tomb ghost wave, and there was only one thought left in their eyes: before you fired the map cannon, did you consider the thoughts of us rice bugs? How do we feel that the descriptions you mentioned apply to us? Not just players. At this time, the eyes of all the fierce ghosts in the audience fell on Shenjian. Arrogance, angering all the tomb ghosts at once, even 9 lives are not enough for him to lose. Even if he is lucky enough to survive, the curse brought about by killing so many tomb ghosts will make him restless and painful for the rest of his life. Wait, are we considering his problem now? With so many grave ghosts appearing, even if the initiator is killed, their anger will not disappear. By then, we will be the worst offenders. A sound of sobriety and reason mixed with a bit of crying was heard. Hear this. The ghosts fell into a sluggish state. Then their expressions changed drastically. Yes. Just thinking about the consequences for Shenjian, he forgot that they were also in the cemetery. When the tomb ghost is awakened, the first person to be killed is the instigator, but this is not the end, but the beginning. The grave ghost who has no prey will start randomly selecting targets until his life is ended. At the moment, the ghosts in the entire cemetery are awakened. Even if one person chooses one, it is more than enough. In other words, Shenjian was not tricking himself, but innocent people like them. They didn't know if the other party could escape, but they certainly couldn't escape such a big target. MMP, did you hear that? With this thought, the fierce ghosts surrounding the cemetery scattered and fled amidst the curses. The scene seemed very chaotic. On one side were the tomb ghosts collectively crawling towards Shenjian, and on the other side were the foreign ghosts fleeing in panic. Among them, there were also many players who were standing there at a loss and with pale faces. The ghost Professor Suro and the school beauty ghost didn't move either, but looked straight at Shenjian. The school belle sighed with an expression like my father-in-law is really messing around. This scene seemed familiar to her. When faced with the attack on the Yinko headquarters, she had seen similar battles and already had the mental capacity to withstand it. Knowing that Shenjian still has the strength to fight against such a lineup. No matter what happened, he could summon a stone giant that was over a kilometer tall and take them away, so there was not much panic. It was the first time for Ghost Professor Suro to see such a scene. Her face shone brightly. As a psychology expert, she could easily tell that there was no trace of fear or panic on Shenjian's face, but instead showed a kind of eager excitement. This excitement was just like the first time she snatched her sister's man, full of indescribable beauty. She suddenly felt. This young lady husband should be the same type of person as her. All have some kind of quirks. And his moral quality is not high. The compatibility with her is perfect. In some ways, the two of them should complement each other. Well, I'll try it out sometime after I get back. The more I think about it, an abnormal blush appeared on Ghost Professor Suro's face. The calves are slightly closed. She was obviously trapped in the ghost tide and could not control her life or death, but she still had some kind of physiological reaction and desperately wanted to exchange the concept of human yin and yang with this extremely dazzling young husband. She calls her behavior a pervert of moral corruption. The other side. Looking at this dense army of tomb ghosts, the smile in Shenjian's eyes became even stronger. Almost jumping in the face. He expresses a strong incomprehension towards the escape behavior of others. The tomb ghost is so cute. This pale ghost hand has a pseudo-strong beauty. This festering, maggot-infested body has experienced the baptism of time and has the beauty of the vicissitudes of time. How does this decadent aura fit in with the underworld? Such a group of tomb ghosts are simply born to be evil. The whole underworld is gone. Thinking. Shenjian's face showed the GGG ghost's signature weird smile, and he waved his hand. The supernatural power released by angels, ghosts, and gods. In the void, golden ripples continued to rise, forming golden whirlpools. From the whirlpool, golden spears kept pouring out. One handful after another. He pointed the gun head condensed with bright light at the charging tomb ghost. The next second, Shenjian stretched out his hand. The scorching, bright light wrapped around the golden holy spear, like a rain of spears, tore apart the sky and the earth, pierced the sky, and nailed each tomb ghost to the spot. For a while, the wails of the tomb ghosts echoed throughout the sky. "Look, why are you running? Tomb ghosts are just like that, with average strength and speed. If you don't believe me, why don't you give it a try?" While Shen Jian commanded the golden holy spear to penetrate the body of the tomb ghost, causing it to die, he looked at the fleeing ghost team with a smile. It once seemed relaxed and freehand. Of course, that's exactly what happened. The tomb ghost couldn't even get close to this man, and was completely nailed to the ground. Their previous assumptions were wrong. This man is not infinitely close to ghosts and gods, he is ghosts and gods. Moreover, his own supernatural strength has seriously exceeded the standard, and he no longer belongs to the category of normal ghosts and gods. Logically speaking, they can really relax. After all, if this trend continues, it will only be a matter of time before all the tomb ghosts are crucified. But they dare not stop. Because they saw that after nailing dozens of tomb ghosts, wisps of black gas came out of Shen's body and penetrated into his body along his arms, causing half of the man's wrists to be black. No doubt. This is the supernatural curse after the death of the tomb ghost. They have experimented. If more than 3 tomb ghosts are killed, the accumulated supernatural curse will explode. They will be dragged underground by the cemetery and buried under the black soil, forming new tombstones and becoming new tomb ghosts. In Shenjian, the effect of this curse also appeared. The black half of his wrist was proof. Judging from the current situation, even ghosts and gods cannot offset the supernatural impact of killing so many tomb ghosts. If he committed suicide alone, I'm afraid even ghosts and gods would have to be buried. You're already like this when you're riding a horse, yet you insist on saying it's okay and encourage us to try it too. You are really sick. You are the kind of person whose whole body has been cremated but whose mouth is still tough. Seeing this, the ghosts fled faster. Everyone was extremely frightened. If Shen Jian was dragged underground by the ghost carried by the tomb ghost before his death and turned into a new tomb ghost, they could hardly imagine how terrifying that scene would be. Compared with the ghosts and gods who were originally buried in the Valley of the Gods, they were more afraid of Shen Jian, a ghost and god who could fire map cannons at every turn and could achieve coverage of firepower like a map cannon. See it? Shen Jian looked away regretfully. He glanced at the black energy on half of the wrist of his right arm. As he crucified more and more tomb ghosts, the superimposed supernatural curse became larger and larger. He could clearly feel that there was an unparalleled pulling force coming from the black soil under his feet, trying to pull him down and bury him. With this level of pulling power, even if a real ghost or god comes, you have to do your best to resist. To this, Shen Jian just raised his foot and stamped his foot, then continued to kill the tomb ghost. Soon, the tomb ghosts were also afraid. This bitch is so humming inhuman. There were so many of them together, and they didn't even touch the corners of each other's clothes. This was still a way of putting gold on them. In fact, not to mention touching the hem of the enemy's clothes, they couldn't even get within 100 meters of the enemy. The golden holy spear seems to be endless. Just to kill 2/3 of their number, at least twice the number of golden holy spears were used. Where can they reason with this? This hanging man probably owns a weapons shop at home. This kind of supernatural thing, which is enough to kill the top Ghost King level, is used endlessly. They felt that they did not die from a supernatural attack, but from Jian's ability. He was taken away by the opponent's Krypton gold cheating. This way of death is so frustrating. Soon, the tomb ghost is completely dead. In the huge cemetery, corpses were strewn all over the ground and in ravines. The corpses of a large number of tomb ghosts were nailed to the ground with a 2-meter-long golden holy spear. Judging from the situation at the scene, It looked like a place of judgment, full of tragedy. As for Shenjian, who was the instigator, both arms were black. The black soil beneath his feet began to dent in place due to the tug between Shenjian and him. Tisk, are you bothered? A deep luster flashed in Shenjian's eyes. Sneered. Stomp again. Boom. A loud noise echoed throughout the cemetery. The earth is cracked and dense like a spider web. Also at the same time, the black energy lingering on Shenjian's arms began to dissipate and disappeared. Except for the tomb ghosts all over the ground, everything looked normal. Shenjian glanced away. A large tomb stands alone on the ravine ground. With all the other tombstones broken, this large tomb seemed even more abnormal. The true identity of this large tomb has been revealed. It is the ghosts and gods mentioned in horror games. The place where he is buried has some of the authority of Luo Fengtian, the third place. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yu Buletin Chi Gua. Chapter 671. Chapter 667 I really met a god. For a long time. Finished. It seems to be over. The tomb ghost isn't chasing you. Well, it seems they are all dead. They died so miserably that I can't bear to look at them. Such conversations spread among the ghost group. It suddenly attracted the attention of many people. Are all the tomb ghosts gone? Damn it! They met the gods. As fierce as a horse. Although when Shenjian took action, they expected that these tomb ghosts were no match for Shenjian. A strange ghost and god, speculation and reality were always two different things. Having witnessed with their own eyes the scene of Shenjian crucifying more than 300 grave ghosts, they still looked in disbelief. Those were not 300 cats and dogs, but 300 tomb ghosts whose terrifying levels were at least at the level of ghost kings, and there were even 3 top ghost kings who were infinitely close to ghosts and gods. Not to mention the combination of other tomb ghosts, just 3 top ghost kings who are infinitely close to ghosts and gods can fight against a real ghost and god in a short time. Coupled with the ghost tide formed by other combinations, even ghosts and gods will be shaken when they see it. He left with his bastard head. And Shenjian not only resisted head-on, but he was not injured at all. You can tell at a glance that until their death, the group of tomb ghosts did not touch the corners of the enemy's clothes. As a ghost, this way of death can be said to be extremely undignified. Certainly. The more undignified the death of the tomb ghost is, the more it can bring out Shenjian's terrifying strength. After all, if you want to create this kind of effect, you must crush the tomb ghost for at least a large stage in terms of terror level, just like the Ghost King teases the white-clothed ghost, or the top Ghost King teases the red-clad ghost. Only such a huge gap can lead to the current results. They doubt it? Shenjian is no longer a simple ghost and god, but an existence that is infinitely close to the world-destroying ghost and god. In the entire entertainment city, there are only a handful of people with this kind of terrifying level. Think of this. The ghosts stopped one after another. Stop and watch. He looked at Shenjian with a bit of awe and a bit of fanaticism. At this time, someone said, "Look at that big tomb, is it the place where the legendary ghosts and gods are buried?" As soon as these words came out, all eyes were focused on it. In the middle of the cemetery, where corpses were everywhere, the ground trembled violently and dented, revealing a cemetery that was completely different from normal tombstones. With all the tombstones broken and the grave soil dug up to reveal a hole, this intact large tomb is obviously eye-catching. No doubt. This is the burial place of the ghost and god. Just dig it open and you will find the authority that the Lord of Entertainment City said symbolizes strength and freedom. There is a consensus in the Entertainment City, whoever can obtain the so-called authority can become the right-hand man of the city lord, be promoted to a front-line staff, stand at the top of the Entertainment City, and enjoy endless resources and power. Even some ghosts and gods cannot resist such temptation. Not to mention them. At the moment, they finally eliminated the burial place of ghosts and gods, which is gratifying. The only problem is, someone has locked it all in advance, and it's hard for them to stand a chance against each other. Think of this. Many top ghost kings had inexplicable colors in their eyes. As if silently calculating something. They would definitely have no chance in a head-on robbery, but if they resorted to some shady tricks, they might still have a chance. Even though this move will anger Shen Jian and provoke an angry ghost and god, compared with the huge benefits, this price is really normal. With 30% profit, they dare to gamble. With 50% profit, they dare to take risks. With 100% profit, they dare to risk being hanged. With 300% profit, they dare to trample all laws. In their view, gaining authority and becoming the right-hand man of the city owner of the entertainment city is an opportunity to reach the sky in one step, with profits exceeding 300%. Even though Shen Jian had just demonstrated his ability to crucify a group of tomb ghosts, a small number of top ghost kings were still ready to take action. At this time, dong, dong, dong. The sound like the beating of war drums became increasingly clear, attracting everyone's attention. Because the source of the sound seemed to come from this large tomb. Sounds like it? It's like the sound of the heart. It's the heart that is reviving, quickly rejuvenating. As time went by, this agitation became louder and louder. In the end, it seemed to be knocking on everyone's heart. Even the top ghost king couldn't help but feel his blood speed up and feel a little nervous. Wait, something is wrong. Were you attacked? Why are there such marks behind you? Hear this. Others looked over. The owner of this voice was only the abyss-level ghost king, and the reason why he shouted was because he found that a bloody mark suddenly appeared on his good brother's neck. The mark was stained with blood and looked ominous. It doesn't look like it's smeared on. It was as if it suddenly appeared out of thin air. For all this, everyone is watching. At this time, the Ghost King, who had blood marks on his body, also had a panic expression on his face. Just now, I did feel something choked on my neck, but then it returned to normal. There was nothing. I thought it was just an illusion. He explained. Stammered. I was even more upset inside. What the hell, why am I the unlucky one? This strange bloody trace is related to the beating heartbeat just now, and it should be a murderous pattern. But how to avoid the murderous rules of a ghost and god, he was completely confused. If he dies, he will really become a fool. Think of this. He suddenly looked at Shen Jian. The person present with the highest level of terror, the strongest strength, and the most outstanding ability is Shen Jian. He is also a ghost and god. Shen Jian should be able to tell what killing pattern he has triggered. Instantly, the eyes of the audience fell back on Shen Jian again. Shen Jian glanced at it a few times, slightly surprised. Think about it. While sighing, he shook his head and said, "You are so old, eating everything will only harm you. No matter how hungry you are, you can't just eat a piece of your wrist. Chew it twice. It's better now. It's stuck in your neck." Blood Seal Ghost King. He was stunned for a moment. Then his face turned green with fear. Is there a piece of wrist on his neck? Hear this. He was going crazy with fear. The expressions of the others also changed drastically. Is this a joke? A severed hand stuck in your neck? If this is the case, then how is the other party still alive? No matter how small the wrist is, it is not something that the throat can handle. Once a hand reaches in, the neck will burst in an instant, instead of making the Blood Seal Ghost King, an abyss-level ghost, look like a normal person. There is nothing unusual about the appearance. If Shen Jian hadn't been the one to speak, they would have thought that the other party was just talking nonsense and making a fuss. Even now, many people are skeptical. After all, in their perception, there was nothing wrong with the Blood Seal Ghost King's neck. There were no external signs or any supernatural reaction. Even the parties concerned themselves felt that there was no problem. To this, Shen Jian did not explain. Just watched with interest. Others cannot see or feel it. But in his eyes, the Blood Seal Ghost King's neck indeed had a piece of his wrist stuck, blocking his throat. The reason why there is no abnormality is because this wrist is devouring the flesh and yin energy of this Ghost King. I am afraid that only after the Blood Seal Ghost King is eaten up will the abnormality be fully revealed. Look at it this way. The ghosts and gods buried in the cemetery have not yet fully recovered, and they are trying to devour the corpses of other Ghost Kings in this way to speed up their own recovery time. That's what I thought. The heartbeat continued to sound like the beating of a war drum. Immediately afterwards, the good brother who first prompted the blood mark Ghost King also had a blood mark on his body. Right on the abdomen. Shen Jian took a look. Don't stop it either. He just smiled and said, warm reminder, brother, there is a bloody little angel's ankle living in his stomach. As soon as the sentence came out, believe it or not, the ghosts all focused their attention. The abyss-level Ghost King who was named subconsciously opened his clothes. Sure enough, he saw a blood mark on his abdomen. And he also felt something just now, like something stepped on his stomach. Think of this. He was scared out of his wits. They are incompatible with each other, they are extremely unlucky. See this scene. The expressions of surprise on the faces of the ghosts deepened. Everyone showed fear and stayed away from the brothers and sisters, for fear of being infected. What happened? Is what he said true? Even the rules of killing must comply with some basic logic. There is no fluctuation of yin qi, no supernatural residue, no external manifestations, and even no perception. This is incredible. Is the supernatural power of ghosts and gods really so weird? To this extent, some people become more frightened the more they think about it. The doubts in his eyes only increased. Because they can't tell the difference, really can't tell the difference. Except for Shen Jian, no one in the audience saw the so-called severed hand and ankle. Even the parties involved don't know. In this case, even if they wanted to believe Shen Jian, there was nothing they could do. We can only keep increasing the distance between them. Prevent being targeted. They could probably guess that it was all related to the weird heartbeat, but none of them dared to go and take a look. Because Shen Jian hasn't spoken yet. They didn't understand why Shen Jian didn't dig up the tomb and force out the ghost and god like he did before. Isn't the purpose of his coming here to gain the authority of the city lord of Entertainment City? While the ghosts were thinking, the strange heartbeat sound became thicker, and more evil spirits had bloody marks on their bodies. But in Shen Jian's eyes, these fierce ghosts have some other body organs inexplicably added to their bodies. There were severed hands, ankles, red pieces of flesh, and bright red organs such as heart, liver, lungs, and intestines. Every time a fierce ghost parasitizes, the strange heartbeat becomes a little more powerful. Apparently he was devouring the yin qi of these ghost kings to strengthen himself. Shen Jian saw it. The smile in his eyes was strong. According to this trend, it won't take a few minutes for this tomb ghost to be completely revived. However, when Shen Jian glanced at Ghost Professor Suro, his brows furrowed sharply. Because he also saw signs of being attacked by a supernatural being from this intellectual female professor. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yu Buletin Chi Gua. Chapter 672. Apparently, the scope of supernatural erosion has expanded. Shen Jian frowned slightly. This tomb ghost knows his stuff and knows that parasitic ghosts with higher supernatural powers can supplement his strength to the maximum extent and speed up his recovery process. In other words, he has already sensed the threat and is trying to speed up his awakening in this way so that he will not be at the mercy of others. As for Ghost Professor Suro, her supernatural power is very high. This can be seen from the fact that she used the body of the Ghost King to fight against the Abyss-level murderer. The tomb ghosts chose to attack Professor Ghost, which was undoubtedly a very correct judgment. Think about it. Shen Jian walked towards the Ghost Professor Suro's position. In his perception, he could clearly detect that there was a severed finger on the back of this intellectual female professor. The severed finger was red, and the skin on the surface seemed to have been peeled off, revealing only 3 finger bones, which were mixed with a small amount of flesh and blood. The flesh and blood is squirming and growing, swallowing the yin energy in Professor Ghost's body to breed more flesh and blood. According to Shen Jian's judgment, this tomb ghost should be in a state similar to the blood corpse of the underworld. If he wants to be completely revived, he needs to complete his flesh and blood. The various organs and body organs that suddenly appear in the body of the ghost are all part of this ghost and god. When they absorb enough nutrients, they will break out of the body of the ghost and return to the original body. Certainly, each organ requires different nutrients. It is undoubtedly a fool's errand to rely on the nutrients in a devil's body to completely replenish the organs. Except for a few top ghost kings who are infinitely close to ghosts and gods, other ghost kings simply cannot bear this kind of absorption. When the organs burst out of the belly, it is probably the time when they were eaten clean by the parasitic evil ghost, and not even the dregs were left. Thinking. The fellow sufferers who were first parasitized have already developed abnormalities. They looked ferocious and behaved strangely. Although there was nothing wrong with his body, he shouted desperately, "It hurts, it hurts." When the pain is extreme. Their eyes were red and they used ghost claws to cut open their stomachs, trying to find the source of the severe pain. At this time, a horrifying and terrifying scene occurred. The fellow sufferers who had their stomachs cut open found an empty scene inside their bodies. Their body organs, flesh, and blood all disappeared. Only a layer of skin remains. Then, they fell to the ground. A layer of skin seemed to have no support and fell softly to the ground. The 2 abyss-level ghost kings died silently. Not to die, but to be eaten clean. Even hope of recovery is gone. This moment, the ghosts were boiling. His pupils changed in shock. Damn, they were eaten clean. What on earth is going on? What on earth is eating their flesh and blood organs? Are there really so-called wrists and ankles that are parasitic in their bodies and eating them clean? Again, could it be that this ghost god has woken up, and he is activating the power of the ghost realm, placing the visible range of supernatural attacks deeper into the ghost realm? This is why we can't see anything, and we can't sense anything. How about your arrival? In panic, someone analyzed the situation, and was quickly accepted by everyone. There is no other possibility than this. The wrists and ankles that Shen Jian saw were real, but the place he saw was located in a deeper ghost realm. This level of ghost realm isolated their perception, making them like blind people. Think of this. Everyone panicked. Extreme fear showed on his face. An invisible supernatural attack is too deadly. It means that they have no ability to resist at all. In fact, if ghosts and gods dare to appear in front of them, relying on the huge lineup of ghost kings, they can kill each other. But now, the ghosts and gods do not take the initiative to show up, but use their supernatural powers secretly like an old man. In this case, unless they can directly attack the source of the supernatural, no matter how many ghost kings they are, they will not be able to withstand it. The only person present who could see traces of attacks by ghosts and gods was Shen Jian. Think of this. Their eyes fell on Shen Jian. Haven't spoken yet. Shen Jian has stopped in front of Ghost Professor Suro. See this situation. As a psychology expert, Suro's expression also changed slightly. In this case, the meaning of the young lady's husband coming to her was already obvious. She was struck. But just like other ghost kings, she couldn't detect anything unusual. I am afraid that only after her body organs have been eaten clean, she will realize that she is going to die. Think of this. Her beautiful eyes trembled slightly. Little husband, was I also attacked? She began to ask. There was deep regret in his tone. At this moment, the first thing she thought of was that she couldn't compete with her sister for a man. She is really a bad sister. Shen Jian nodded slightly. See this. Ghost Professor Suro made a bold move. She took 2 quick steps, stood on tiptoes, held Shen Jian's face in her hands, and put her red lips on it without hesitation. Enjoy this last moment to your heart's content. Because of her quick and unskilled movements, she could only suck, causing 2 beautiful clouds to appear on both sides of her cheeks. Aside. Look at this extremely shocking scene. The school bell's mouth opened like an O. Confirmed. Her fiancé's aunt really had an affair with her future father-in-law. And the relationship is far closer than she imagined. It was also bolder than she imagined. You know, in her eyes, except for Shen Jian's very intimate behavior with her future mother-in-law, the rest of the time he seemed to be indifferent. As for the most beautiful professor at Scarlet University, she had already heard about it. It was an existence that was equally cold and distant from everyone. However, it's unbelievable that such 2 people have an intimate relationship behind her future mother-in-law's back. Should she act invisible? Suddenly. She thought again, could it be that Professor Su was so bold because he felt that he was hopeless? That's what I thought. Ghost Professor Suro let go of Shen Jian when she was about to suffocate. He looked at the young lady with a blushing face. The other side. Shen Jian also blinked. There was something strange about his expression. What are you doing? I'm going to die. If I'm exposed, I'll be exposed. Anyway, sister can't blame you just because I'm dead. The intellectual female professor curled her lips. Rather free and easy. Who said you are going to die? Shen Jian grabbed the ghost Professor Suro's hand and said with a strange look in his eyes, you have 3 amputated fingers on your back. I will help you take them out. However, there are too many people in this place. It's not easy to be seen all right. The words fell. Shen Jian disappeared on the spot. Even the ghost Professor Suro disappeared together. By then, the countless ghost kings in the cemetery who were paying attention to Shen Jian's movements all had happy faces. Really? Shen Jian can not only see the traces of the attack by the ghosts and gods in the tomb, but he can also end the supernatural erosion. They were saved. The other side. A small forest. Shen Jian used the ghost domain to cover this place. Then he looked at Ghost Professor Suro. Before he could speak, the intellectual female professor had already unbuttoned her white shirt. Instantly, an astonishing amount of capital poured out and magnified in front of Shen Jian's eyes. Wait, you don't need to take off the last layer. Seeing that Suro was still ready to take off her clothes, Shen Jian interrupted. It's not that he doesn't want to eat the morally corrupt protagonist's aunt in front of him, but the situation is not right. He can eat at any time. But there is only one ghost in the tomb. If he escapes, he will slap himself in the face in his sleep. Oh. Ghost Professor Suro felt a little regretful. I didn't continue to take off the last layer of protection. Instead, he walked around in front of Shen Jian and said playfully, little husband, compared with sister, which one of us is more beautiful? I have secretly compared myself before. I am older than my sister. Shenjian. He looked around. Suro, whose upper body was naked, had a charming look in her eyes. The white shirt did not take off completely, but hung on her arms, full of a half-covered sense of temptation. It gave rise to some unknown fire in his heart. He wished that the little goblin in front of him who was teasing his brother-in-law could be punished on the spot. And, judging from his human measuring stick, this sister is indeed better than her elder sister in some aspects. But the advantage is not huge. Soon, Shenjian withdrew his gaze. He slapped him on the erect part. He said angrily, "Be honest. Say it." Shenjian put his hand on Ghost Professor Suro's back, causing her to tremble. Then, 3 consecutive severed fingers were taken out. As soon as it appeared in Shenjian's hands, the 3 severed fingers burst out with a strong will to resist, looming, obviously wanting to hide in the deeper ghost realm and enter Shenjian's body. "Zapi!" Shenjian said coldly. A black flame burst out of his hand. "That's hellfire. It is the fire of the netherworld in the blood pool hell carried by the Wuguan king. It only takes one wisp to burn forever. The supernatural power will not dissipate, and the fire of hell will not be extinguished." Instantly, the 3 severed fingers were like ants on a hot pot, trembling crazily. Then there was no movement. A posture that has been burned out. "See this." Shenjian put it away. Returned to the scene with Ghost Professor Suro. Saw 2 people coming back. The ghosts were shocked. Their eyes scanned the Ghost Professor's body, but since they could not sense any traces of supernatural attacks, they naturally gained nothing. However, it can be seen from the expression of the female ghost that the traces of the supernatural attack on her body have most likely been lifted. At this time, among the players, the middle-aged rich man with the ID Mr. Chi came to Shenjian with a pale face. With a bitter look on his face, he said, "Master, I seem to have been hit too. It was on my back." While talking, he took off his shirt. However, before he could take off his clothes halfway, Shenjian stopped him. "What are you doing?" "Qi Shan?" He was slightly startled. "Master, I'm not afraid of being exposed. In order to save you a chance to use the ghost realm, I can take it off on the spot." Shenjian looked disgusted and said, "No need." The words fell. The ruthless iron hand stretches out. It penetrated Qi Shan's entire body and pulled out a red intestine. "Qi Shan?" He was even more stunned. "I'd love you to treat me. You don't need to take off your clothes. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace." Author, Shi Yu Buletin Chi Gua. Chapter 673. At this time, everyone saw that Shenjian casually stretched out his hand and penetrated Qi Shan's belly. When he stretched out his hand again, there was already a red intestine in his hand. "Qi Shan." He looked at the scene with horror on his face. Anyone who sees someone reaching into their body and pulling out an organ that is obviously an organ will be shocked. Even though he knew that Shenjian did not lack his intestines, the human nerve center still instinctively gave him an early warning, making him tremble all over. A normal person would be frightened and faint even if they knew the other person was trying to save someone. It took a while. Qi Shan said weakly, "Master, did you treat me like this just now?" What he was talking about was obviously the scene where Shenjian took away the ghost Professor Suro. From Shenjian's previous words, he could clearly hear that treatment should require taking off clothes so that the alien organs hidden in the body could be accurately pulled out. That's why Shenjian took away Professor Ghost. Otherwise, it is an erotic picture that was witnessed by others. Because of this, after discovering that he had also been tricked, he chose to take off his shirt directly, which could save Shenjian the number of times he used his supernatural powers. However, The reality doesn't seem to be this way. Judging from Shen Jian's casual and relaxed look, even through clothes, it seemed to have no effect. Think of this. The corners of his mouth twitched wildly. Damn it! How dare you, master, have such double standards? To save a female ghost, you need someone else to take off your clothes, but if it were a man, you would just violently disembowel her? Grass. For the first time in his life, he experienced sexism. You understand, Zhangwuji? Hear this. Shen Jian glanced at Qi Shan. He raised his eyebrows. As if to say, just know the difference. But think about it. Still, he explained casually, she doesn't want to see blood. Qi Shan? He looked puzzled. Master, have you forgotten that I was by your side when you were at Scarlet University? It's not like I haven't seen this female professor's desperate fighting style. If she can't see blood, wouldn't I faint when I see blood? And she is a ghost. How could the ghost not have seen more bloody scenes than him? It's better not to explain what you said. He wanted to cry but had no tears. It can be seen that the master has no other reason than pure double standards. His attitude towards the female professor is obviously better than towards the players. To him, he directly resorted to violence to break his belly. To deal with the ghost professor, the approach should be gentler and less scary. Then, he was speechless. Looking at the red intestines in Shen Jian's hand, there was only fear in his eyes. If it weren't for Shen Jian, he would probably be like other ghost kings, whose body organs would be eaten away, leaving only a piece of human skin in the end. And he is human, not a real ghost. Once the body loses any important organ, it will die instantly. Rather than waiting until all the flesh and blood in the body is eaten to detect an abnormality, such a supernatural attack is undoubtedly a fatal blow to human players. Thinking. More and more ghost kings began to appear abnormal. One by one roared, falling to the ground in pain. Some chose to seek help from Shen Jian, and some of the top ghost kings chose to attack the only surviving large tomb in the cemetery. All the problems at the moment are related to the beating heartbeat just now. They believe that as long as the heartbeat stops, the supernatural attacks will end. Exactly. The timing is just right. The situation was chaotic, and no one could care about anyone. The ghosts and gods in the big tomb are also launching supernatural attacks. They have no skills. They can just rush to the location of the big tomb. While attacking, they are looking for the authority mentioned by the city lord of the entertainment city. Boom! A violent roar sounded. More than a dozen top ghost kings joined forces, and with just one attack, a large crater of more than 10 meters was created in the location of the tomb. A red heart buried under the black soil is exposed. The heart was as red as blood and beating continuously. The supernatural fluctuations it emitted chilled everyone. On a hot day, the blood all over my body seemed to be frozen. At the red heart, there seemed to be an invisible ghost standing there, and the beating position of the heart was exactly on the left side of his chest. What a terrifying ghost heart! It was obviously dismembered until only one heart was left, but the supernatural fluctuations it carried still reached the level of ghosts and gods. It's hard to imagine how terrifying the buried ghosts and gods were during their lifetimes. I don't know if it's scary or not, but I know we're in trouble. There is only one ghost heart at the scene. Where is the so-called authority? Is our guess wrong? There is no so-called authority in this supernatural place. All the top ghost kings spoke to each other. There was confusion in his words. They have not seen permissions and do not know what permissions are. They only know that the city lord of Entertainment City said that permissions are very special. Once you see them once, you will never forget them. And now, before them, there was only a ghost heart. Is this the authority? As soon as this idea came up, The ghosts couldn't help but feel happy. They each looked at each other and saw the wariness in the other's eyes. There is only one authority, whoever gets it first will be able to reach the sky in one step. In the face of such huge interests, even biological parents will rebel at any time, let alone a group of strangers they have never met. In the face of authority, everyone is an enemy. How to seize authority in the fight is a question that all of them are thinking about. At this time, something happened. More and more ghost kings were eaten clean, and their respective organs that had not been seen before were constantly emerging at this moment. Immediately afterwards, a large amount of flesh and blood began to wrap around the heart, growing continuously, forming a complete left chest at a speed visible to the naked eye, followed by half of the body, half of the hands, half of the feet, and half of the head. This scene. This gave everyone a frightening thought. This ghost and god has revived. Just one ghost heart has the power to destroy them all. They can't imagine how terrifying it would be if this ghost god completely revived and spliced his body together completely. I was afraid that everyone present would die. Thinking. This ghost god is constantly improving. The bright red half of the body has taken shape. In less than a moment, a broken body had been formed. And the body on the right side is also squirming and growing rapidly. Damn it, we can't let him continue. If you want to be resuscitated, you must first ask if we agree. Gan, you are a remnant of the old era. There is no ship that can carry you in the new era. The top ghost kings did not dare to hesitate. The unreserved burst of strength, the terrifying supernatural interweaving, spread rapidly, trying to prevent this ghost from continuing to revive. However, useless. The supernatural attacks of more than a dozen top ghost kings will disappear directly as soon as they approach this blood corpse ghost. The other party didn't even raise his eyes, he was still perfecting himself, expressing the word looked down upon vividly. 1 round, 2 rounds, 3 rounds. The ghosts were desperate. No matter how they broke out, they had no effect on this ghost and god. Their supernatural attacks are like being exiled from an invisible ghost realm to a deeper ghost realm. As long as the upper limit of the attack cannot break the limit of the ghost realm, they will never be able to hurt the opponent. This is a kind of ghost land that makes people feel powerless. The previous supernatural attacks that could not be seen or felt seem to be used in this way. This blood corpse ghost god has mastered a higher level of ghost realm skills. It was a dimensionality reduction blow to them. And now, the only one who still has a chance to pose a threat to this ghost and god is Shenjian. If Shenjian joins forces with them, he will have a chance to break the restrictions of the ghost realm and really hurt this ghost and god. Then, a group of top ghost kings began to search for Shenjian's location. Soon, they found it. I saw old Shenjian standing there with dignity. He ignored the resurrection of the blood corpse ghosts and gods. He was holding a rope in his hand, and there were many strange things tied to the other end of the rope. There are 3 finger bones, an intestine, half an eye, and half a kidney. Shenjian strung these things together and tied them together. He watched as these organs seemed to come alive and walked towards the location of the blood corpse ghosts and gods. However, every time they walked a certain distance, they would be pulled back and move around again. What goes around comes around. Like walking a dog on a leash. It's just that the walking stuff is a little weird. Ghosts. They couldn't stand it any longer. Damn it. You are making such a fuss. We are fighting life and death outside, ready to prevent this ghost god from resurrecting at any time and save the lives of all of us. He is very meowing. Is he walking on his organ? Is this a new type of dog walking? If you really have nothing to do, you can give us some tips. They were disheveled in the wind. To this, Shenjian didn't care. Whoever beats you, leave me alone. Shenjian waved his hand and greeted. Group of ghosts. You uncle. God, leave me alone. You think this is playing? Look clearly, this ghost and God is almost revived. If you wait a little longer, we will all have a feast. At the same time, at the last moment of recovery, the bloody corpse ghost opened only half of his eyes, looked at the palm of his right arm with only 2 fingers, and then felt the missing half of his kidney and the large and small unrested organ parts in his body. His eyes immediately fell on Shenji Unjian. I also saw body parts that were being run around like dogs. Blood corpse ghost God. What the hell are you, bitch?